Hey Battle Droids, so I've been meaning to get back to something that I did a long time ago now, where I compared the Unseen to the new classics in terms of how the mech designs look. And I'm going to just try and finish that up with the Inner Sphere mechs at least, and look at the 3025 Unseen that weren't in my original video about this. So if you remember, my original video looked at the 14 Unseen mechs that were in the original BattleTech box set. You know, those original iconic mechs, the Griffin, the Marauder, those things, and compared them with their new classics designs. And the new classics did win out over the original Unseen, but it was close. You know, I'm somebody who loves the Unseen, and I think they look really cool. So let's look at the remaining 3025 Unseen and see how it shakes out with those. You know, first up is the Goliath, right? So the original Goliath is one of the Dugrim mechs, and it's got a very cool look, I think. The legs are really long. It looks like it's kind of way above the ground, and it has this kind of turret-looking head with the, you know, originally ERPPC in what looks like a second turret on top of that. A thing that I really like about this original Goliath is that the head looks really cool, like that opening where the visor is for the head, that looks awesome to me. It looks kind of like a little vehicle almost sitting on top of the mech. And they did pretty much capture that with the new one. But the other thing about the original that they didn't capture so well was the really modest looking barrel on the gun. I like mechs that have guns that look realistic, that look like tank guns, and that don't look like they have such a high caliber that you just wouldn't be able to fit a magazine full of shells for them on the mech. And the original Goliath really had a gun that looked like a realistic tank gun, whereas the new one, you know, that gun just looks too wide to be real, right? It looks kind of cartoonish to me. Also, for me, the fatter legs that they have on the new one, it just doesn't work quite as well for the aesthetic that I like. So even though the new Goliath looks pretty cool, I'm going to give my award to the original Unseen Goliath, which I think is a truly awesome looking quad mech. You know, maybe the coolest looking of all the quad mechs. I love it. The Longbow. Now this is an interesting one. It wasn't actually in Tech Readout 3025, but it was known to everybody around then. The original Longbow was taken from Robotech, and it looks pretty cool, but I have to say it's kind of the least impressive looking to me of the Robotech mechs that they brought into the Unseen on the whole. You know, it's those missile arms are cool, but you know, the face, the kind of like plate in the front just looks a little silly. I'm not in love with it. Whereas the new classics Longbow, the way that the head kind of projects forward and has the little kind of visor forward almost to the end, I think it looks really great. Also, those hinges on the missile launchers where, you know, the doors open, they're a big improvement, I think, over the original kind of weird looking plates that rise up. Those just look kind of more realistic. Those look like how you would set up shields on the front of missile launchers. So I'm going to officially award the Metal Excalibur to the new classics Longbow, which I think is awesome looking and definitely a big improvement over the original. The Marauder II is a mech that I love. It's 100 tons of pure power, all energy arsenal, extremely powerful armor. This thing is not easy to beat, and it just looks cool. You know, as you know, I love, if you've seen the other video, I love the original Unseen Marauders looks, and the addition of those wings to kind of go along with the jump jets, I think it works really well on this mech. It's just got a great aesthetic. It's one of my favorites. Now the new Marauder II, I see how it's really nice, right? It looks a little bit more different from the Marauder than the original Marauder II did. To me, the new kind of classics Marauder II, it doesn't look as much like a Marauder. And I think the head, it just looks like it belongs on a somewhat different kind of mech, like almost like a king crab or something. Not exactly that, but you know, it doesn't look exactly like a Marauder head to me. So, you know, and also it has the offset weapon onto the side, And I like the symmetry of the original Marauder. Just in general, the cockpit, the head design on the original Marauder, it's very hard to beat. So, you know, I don't love the New Classics Marauder as much as I love the original Marauder II. So the award goes to the original Marauder II, the original Unseen one, but not by that much. The new Marauder II, it does look cool. It's just not exactly what I'm looking for from a Marauder II. It is a very cool looking mech. The Scorpion is an interesting case because they really reproduced the look of the original Unseen Scorpion very closely. The main difference is kind of in the shape of the missile launcher, you know, and the gun is a little bit wider, but in this case it doesn't look unrealistically wide. So, and the legs are thicker, which is a bit of a difference. But overall, just the aesthetic of these two mechs, you know, the cockpit and the shape of the torso is what to me defines a Scorpion. And those things are pretty much exactly the same in the New Classic Scorpion as they are in the original. So given that very close similarity, I'm going to say that this one is a tie. I can't really choose one of these over the other. They're pretty much dead even for me. The Valkyrie is a mech that kind of looked like a bigger Wasp, except with like an LRM launcher on its torso. And, you know, the original one had these kind of over-large shoulders. It had a really cool head, but the head was so close to the Wasp's head that it kind of felt like a blatant ripoff. Like it was just like, why would they make two mechs that have pretty much exactly the same head? Now, the new Valkyrie, it's got a head that is similar, but it really, you know, brings something new to the table. And the laser on the arm just looks more like a real weapon that could do some damage. And it just actually looks like a laser. Like the original Valkyrie, it kind of looks like it's a 4-barreled laser or some kind of a Gatling gun or something. And the arm on the right arm of the original Valkyrie has this kind of boxy ending to it that I don't love. So on the basis of those virtues, I'm going to pick the new Valkyrie. I think it's a significant improvement over the old one. Although the old one wasn't bad, but it just had some features that look kind of weird, and the new one doesn't have those at all. So now it's time for the Ost mechs. And the original OStsol is the first one that I'm going to talk about. Now the original OStsol, it's, you know, this was taken from an alien mecha from BattleTech, and it has these 4 lasers that are kind of pointing in funny directions out of the torso. Like it looks like they would be difficult to aim. And then they kind of added arms onto the mech. And I mean, I guess the thing that to me doesn't work very well about the original OStsol is the head. It kind of looks like it has a weird mustache or something. Like it's kind of like, it looks a little bit like, yeah, like a mechanical man, like TikTok from Return to Oz or something. And then there's that kind of circular part, that oval part on the chest that projects out that's not really anything. I don't know why they have that oval piece on there. But really to me, yeah, the head just doesn't look sleek or cool on the original OStsol. With the Classics OStsol, they really gave the head a kind of streamlined look. It looks like the cockpit of a real war machine. And the arms also look solid. You know, this thing looks like it's got some strength, like it can punch, which is, you know, a nice feature of the mech. It's a good puncher. And they really kind of bring that out in the new design while holding on to a thing that works pretty well about the original, which is the design of the legs. So I definitely have to give the medal in this case to the new Classics OStsol. Awesome looking. It looks heavily armored. It looks tough. And, you know, it just looks like a great brawler mech, which is what the OStsol is. The original Ostrock is another goofy looking one. You know, it's got kind of boxy arms that lead to these hands, and the legs have these weird, like half sphere feet. And then the body looks like R2-D2 kind of attached to the legs on top. You know, the cockpit looks better than it does on the OStsol, but there's also this kind of weird thing that looks like teeth underneath the cockpit, which I don't super enjoy about the original Ostrock. And then the new Ostrock just really captures a similar feel while having, again, kind of meatier, more powerful looking arms that look like they could really punch somebody. The legs look sturdier. And again, the head is just a big improvement. It's got these really cool looking cockpit visors that come together in a group of 4. And the missile launcher has this cool kind of hexagonal pattern at the top and bottom. So it's just a really sophisticated looking mech. It looks high tech, and yeah, I think it looks really cool. So definitely on this one, the new Classics OStsol takes the prize. Very, very cool looking mech. Finally, the Ostscout, right? This was kind of a weird one because it had empty arms that didn't have any weapons in it in the original one, and now they replaced those with hands. So there's really a big difference in look between the original and the new Classics one. I gotta say, it's a definite improvement, even though it's such a big difference. I mean, one thing about the original OStsol, the medium laser, it just looks so wide, almost like it's like a sensor instead of a weapon. It just looks too big. It doesn't look like a medium laser, and it doesn't project out from the center torso of the mech. So you look at it and you're like, it's got a hole in its chest. Is that supposed to be a weapon? It doesn't look like a threatening weapon to me. Whereas the new Ostscout, it's got a weapon that actually protrudes out of it, that looks like a gun, and it's got a really cool head, again, that has kind of a more articulated visor on it for the mech. So it's really a big improvement, I think. It looks sleek and fast, and it just kind of, the hands also, I think, improve the look of the mech. So certainly I gotta award the award to the new Ostscout. So the Ost mechs have just really improved in their look with the new Classics, and I'm really happy with that because I like the stats of these mechs, but I was never super happy to bring them into a game before because I just thought they looked kind of crappy. Now they look cool, so that's an awesome thing about the new Classics. All right, that's all I got for you today, kids. Sometime soon I'll get back to the rest of the Unseen, the Clan Unseen, and tell you what I think about the comparisons with those mechs. But for now, I hope this was enough to tide you over for the moment.